Okay, Monday morning. With that, we're going over to Mike Keppel. Let's start things off as well as we possibly can. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Joining us via your Skype studio, and now you've chosen the bookcases. This is your new backdrop.
Yeah, going back to the bookcases.
I like it.
Switch it up.
Yeah, you have an okay weekend?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Good.
Yeah, got a couple of things done. You know, what everybody's doing, just finding little projects that spring cleaning. Why not?
Your house is probably spotless, as mine is as well. All right, let's talk about the markets. Everyone obviously keeping a very close eye. What do you have this morning? Hey,
we're looking at a big gain in the early trade, and it's sort of counterintuitive. Consider, you know, the unfortunate death toll and the rise in the number of cases in the U.S. and the U.S. President Donald Trump warning this is going to be a very difficult week coming up, and no one expects that these numbers are going to drop dramatically in the short term. Having said that, the markets are a forward-looking entity. We're talking weeks, if not months ahead. And what did we hear over the weekend? Well, the case counts are starting to come down a little bit in Europe, in some of the Scandinavian countries, in Asia, and again, the modeling on the U.S. Peak of COVID-19 cases and deaths, they're starting to lower those estimates as well. So with that, this morning we've got the Dow futures contract up more than 800 points, and that is indicating a gain of about 4% at the start of trade. So again, Mel, we've seen, the markets obviously drop dramatically here over the past several weeks. In fact, the Dow is 29% below its record high, which was set in February. But we're starting to see, little by little here, a little turn here for the markets to the upside. And right now, the forecast is for a pretty good start to the trading week.
Any good news, any news right now that's somewhat positive feels really nice. Mike, let's talk price for oil.
Yes. The talk was that today OPEC was supposed to have this virtual meeting involving Russia and Canada and the U.S. to cut production. Well, they delayed it over the weekend to Thursday, and that'll be the day before a long weekend coming up. Friday's Good Friday. Markets are closed pretty much everywhere that day. So do they get a definitive production cutback announced at that meeting on Thursday, or does this get extended? Well, the Russians are saying they're close to a deal. Very, very close is the quote we're hearing this morning. So last week, the price for oil saw its biggest weekly advance on record. The U.S. price was up more than 30%. The Canadian price for oil jumped more than 80%. Now, it's still historically low, but nevertheless, quite a bit of buying interest last week. This morning, prices are down by about 4%. So again, it's sort of a wait and see, but there's a glimmer of hope from the energy trade, at least, that they're going to have some sort of a production agreement in place by later this week.
I want to talk Apple, and this is your line, from Macs to masks. So this is really important. We've seen a lot of corporations step up and shift gears when it comes to their production. And of course, Apple now being the latest.
Yeah, they've got big sourcing powers globally when they're talking about getting supply. And Tim Cook over the weekend said they can get their hands on 20 million of those N95 face masks, first off. And then you're looking at the face shields, the personal protective devices for healthcare workers. And from their sources, they can get about 1 million of those devices made in fairly short order. They can reorganize their plastics production to make face shields. And Tim Cook says he can get those going, within a week or two. So, I mean, that is a really substantial move from, of course, one of the world's most valuable companies. They've got the financial wherewithal to do this, Mel. And if they can do that, and then you're hearing about General Motors, for example, sharing their production capabilities with others to also produce those face shields. And you've got people making them on digital printers, for goodness sakes, right?
So, we actually have someone coming up at 8:30 to talk about the visors that they're doing.
It's tremendous, the amount of technology that can be shifted around in very short order and what they can do. But again, it's been at this point, that we've had this shortage. Now we got to get things produced and put into the stockpiles for later.
That's it, Mike. Okay, as always, appreciate your time, and we'll chat with you again tomorrow and see if you mix up your background. No, I like it. Throw something funny in the back there. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. Thanks.